welcome to another AIC Productions video. Today I'm going to do two projects on my 98 B4000 truck slash Ford Ranger. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the turn signal stalk. So my turn signals work just fine, but my wipers do not, and it's been raining the last few days. It's been a problem. So when on my turn signal stalk, when I go from off to intermittent, oftentimes nothing happens unless I tap or wiggle it, and it will work if I go all the way up, but I don't want to always go all the way up to the fastest speeds. Also, when I push, it no longer sprays. So those two functions have, one has quit working entirely and the other one is very flaky, so I'm going to replace it. I was going to take it off and see if I couldn't just clean it, but this was like 20 bucks. So in fact, I think it was like $17.99 or something like that. So it was really inexpensive to go ahead and just buy this arm. And if you're going to do this, I'll put a link to this in the description down below. To do this job, it's a 7mm socket. I have both my electric screwdriver for that, as well as just a socket wrench, and you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, which I have the bit for it as well. Also just have a regular screwdriver, and then you also need a Torx bit as well. I'll throw the sizes down again in the description, just because I can't remember off the top of my head. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the switch for my off-road fog light things. So I'm thinking of mounting it on the dash here. So I'm going to take this bezel off and see if there's room to mount it here, and then I'll cut a little hole and mount it. So let's go ahead and get this process started. And unfortunately, my tripod is not functioning right now, so I'll have to take the occasional shot as I do this. Alright, first things first, we got the unit out. Now, there's this gray plug here that is plugged into here, but there's nothing on the other side. I believe this is for, looking at some pictures online, for an aftermarket, or excuse me, for the factory fog lights. So my truck does not have the factory fog lights, obviously, there's no plug there. So I'm going to leave the plug there, but I'll go ahead and drill this section out. I think it's perfect for where I'm going to put the switch for the off-road lights. So we may have to cut this off, but we will see when we get to that point. There's nowhere else really on here I can figure out where to put it. I can't put it here because there's just not enough clearance there, but there's plenty of room along either side here. So that is what we will do. So now I've taken this out, I'm going to set this to the side and let's go ahead and work on that switch. I want to get that done before the rain picks up. Alright, so we got the old one out. Here's the old one, and here's the new one. And just double check and make sure everything looks identical. So far, so good. Everything looks good. All the pins line up. All the pins line up. Yep, looks good, looks good. Alright, so a couple things I learned in doing this is I knew on the bottom of this goes up under your steering column. There's 4 bolts, one here, 2 where your hood release latch is, another one here, and those are 7mm. So I used my 7mm socket on those, came off pretty easily. Those are here. Then to get this off, there are 3 Phillips head screws. I was going to use this guy to pull it off with a Phillips on the end, but it wasn't long enough. So I ended up actually having to use just a regular screwdriver wherever, when it's up over there. Just a regular screwdriver to get up in those holes because it wasn't quite long enough otherwise. Then to get this off, I also had to unscrew this. This is the lever for the tilt on the tilt steering. And it was a pain to get off. I don't know if it was corroded or if they had some sort of thread locker on there. You see that yellow. I tried to get off some of it with a wire brush, but it was a lot more work than I expected to get off. It wasn't impossible, but it was more work than I expected. I had to grab another tool I was not expecting to grab. So if you have a tilt wheel, you'll need to have a set of pliers or something to pull it off, because I could not untwist it by hand. Even until the very end, I was still couldn't get enough torque on it without using an additional tool. And then on here, there's a bolt on the top and on the bottom. I shouldn't say a bolt. Yeah, a bolt. So, or a screw. Now, everything I saw online said it was a Torx 20. Mine was decidedly not a Torx 20. It was a Torx 15. So a Torx 20 was too big. There's a Torx 20 there that I tried. It's too big, so I had to do a Torx 15 to get them off, and the Torx 15 was perfect. So now, oh, and the last thing, for these plugs, what I had to do is to get them off is I used 2 flathead screwdrivers, one on either side, and just, one in each hand, and I just lifted and pried and popped them off. That's the way I did it. It worked pretty well for me. So let's go ahead and get the new one on there. We'll be back in a moment. All right, and we are all done. We can now turn right, turn left, put on our brights, and have working emergency flashers. So the tools I used: 7mm socket. I had 2 flathead screwdrivers. I had a Phillips head screwdriver. I had a socket driver, which I ended up just using my electric screwdriver. For the adjustment, for the tilt adjustment, I used just a monkey wrench and then a brass brush to brush off the crud that was on there. Made it a lot easier to screw back in. And then a Torx 15. So your car may be a Torx 20 or Torx 15. Mine was a Torx 15. Mine is a 1998. So, but it's in, it's good, and I am happy. That was very simple. So if you're having problems with this, don't worry about doing it. Don't stress about it. It's a fairly simple job, fairly straightforward, and definitely worthwhile doing if you're having any problems with your turn signal. My only regret is I didn't do it sooner. All right, let's go ahead and mess with that switch for the aftermarket off-road lights. All right, and we are all done. Switch is here, and it works. It's not as clean as I'd like to be. When I went to drill through here, the drill skipped around just a little bit. What I did is I drilled a hole smaller than I needed to, and then I used a file to make it larger in the places I needed to make it larger in. It took me just a couple of minutes to do that, and there we go. Other than just some slight chips around the edge, I think it looks pretty good. So I may get a new bezel at some point, because this one's already kind of messed up. This is just super glued in. But yeah, very happy with it. Still love my radio. What is this, an X2800 BS, I think, and it plays DVDs and does my backup camera and all that jazz. And yeah, we are done. Thank you for watching, and hope you have an amazing day.